Hi, Progster here with an explanation of the 3 scalar instances and 3 corresponding instrument tracks used to sound those instances that I use in my Bitwig scalar combination project template. Here we have a view that is showing most of the template. On the left we have 6 tracks of action, 2 tracks of blank, and then on the right we have the actual controls that will be used to command what's on the left. We're going to talk about the left today. And these first 3 tracks, Scalar Perf 1 bass, Scalar Perf 2 EP, electric piano, keys, and Scalar Perf 3 synth, also perhaps known as color from time to time. These are my 3 scalar instances, and each of those instances is set up with performance bindings so that when you send commands to those instruments, they will change the performances according to the bindings. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go to the Perf 1 bass scalar instance. I'm going to go ahead and drag that in from off screen. So this is what it looks like. I actually have many chords set up here. There's a lot going on, but what I want to call your attention to right now is that we are in performance mode, okay? And we're looking at bass performances. In this case, Funk 3 is the current bass performance. But I'm going to show you that I've actually bound 8 performances here. These are all bass. Funk 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Pop 2. These were 8 performances that I chose that I thought would, to my ear, made an interesting set of choices to fold into this project. So first off, you would have an option to change those bindings to anything you want. Okay, I'm just explaining how it's laid out. So the same idea, I'm going to go ahead and exit this. I'll drag that back off screen and show that the same idea applies to the Performance 2 electric piano. I'll just open that up and go to the commands, and we can see that we've bound performances, common perf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which serve my purposes here. So we bound 8 performances here, or 8 controller to performance bindings. And in fact, the same thing has been done for the third instance, Scalar Perf 3 synth. I'll go ahead and show it. Even though it's somewhat redundant to do so, it doesn't take all that long. And there are my 8 bindings there. They're all coming from the melody collection, color A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay, so I have 3 sets of scalars, each with 8 bound performances, and each of these has a note receiver. If you look at the device as I select a different one, they all begin with a note receiver. So I have 2 note receivers there in case you want to add something else in. But the note receiver is receiving from the scalar control group. The scalar control group is something right over here on the right-hand side, and we will talk about that in another video. So I just want to point out there is a path via the note receivers for the command and control, the notes and the CCs, to come in and command the scalars from the scalar control group. Now, for this video, the next thing I want to talk about is the sound, because none of these 3 scalar instances is outputting its own sound. Instead, I'm using the built-in sounds that are in Bitwig, a set of sounds for the bass, a set of sounds for the keys, and a set of sounds for the synthesizer. In fact, in each one of these tracks, for example, the bass, I have made an instrument selector. So I don't only have a single sound that is going to sound the bass scalar, but I have a whole selection of sounds that I can choose from, a whole selection in this case of bass sounds that I can use to quickly get different bass sounds. Okay, so we're starting to accumulate the variation that's in this project. We have different performances and we have different sounds. If I go to the keys, we have again the same idea here. We have actually 2 instrument selectors. I only have one of them active at a time. So right here, this one here in the middle is active. And I've got a whole bunch of sort of piano type sounds that are available. And if you select them, then bam, there's a whole bunch to select from. And in fact, it's easy to map these onto a knob and control these externally from a knob. And you can change all your bass sounds, all your piano sounds, and all your synth sounds live with a knob as you operate the whole project, should you choose to do so. Come over to the synth track. Again, we have another set of approximately 16 or so synths that are in an instrument rack. What you have in an instrument rack is always hot and ready to go, so you can select with the mouse or you can select via an externally mapped knob or controller. And the point is, you can't go ahead and put hundreds of things in that rack, because the act of keeping those things ready to go consumes resources, and it gets to be too much. So I've settled on approximately 16 sounds in each rack. Gives me a lot of variation. So we're talking 8 performances for bass, 8 performances for piano, 8 performances for synth, 16 sounds for bass, 16 sounds for keys, and 16 sounds for the synth. Multiply all those numbers, and that's the number of permutations that are available in this project for you to select from. In another video, we will talk about how you do that selection, which is over here to the right-hand side, with the scalar control groups and the clips that are part of that.